There are cases that people forget because they were never dramatic enough to stay alive in memory, and then there are cases that refuse to die, not because of what was found but because of what was never explained. This story falls into the latter category. It begins in a small agricultural town, quiet roads, foggy mornings, long stretches of fields where workers came and went with the seasons, the kind of place where outsiders rarely stayed long. Locals knew every crack in the pavement, every flicker of the street lamps, and every stranger within minutes, which is why when the CCTV footage first surfaced, no one recognized the person in it, not even vaguely. It showed a hunched figure at an ATM at 2:17 a.m., head lowered, hood pulled forward, and a cheap scarf wrapped too tightly around the face, as if the person was trying to erase themselves and failing miserably. But the story does not begin with the footage. It begins earlier with a woman named Marianne Holt, a 42-year-old who lived alone, a careful and predictable person, the kind of ordinary person towns quietly depend on. On the night it happened, she left work at 9:12 p.m., smelling faintly of vinegar from cleaning the counters, planning to heat leftovers and fall asleep to a gardening show, but she never made it home. Police later traced her steps. A short walk, a left turn near the poplar trees, damp leaves sticking to the pavement, and around 9:40 p.m., a neighbor heard what he assumed was a fox shrieking, but it wasn't. The next morning, her body was found behind a hedge bordering an orchard, brutally attacked with an unsettling attempt to remove her head, an action so unusual it disturbed even seasoned officers. Evidence found at the scene made no sense. A partial footprint, a torn bus ticket from an obscure operator used mostly by migrant field workers, a smear of sweat mixed with cheap industrial hand cream, and eventually a full DNA profile, but none of it matched local databases. CCTV footage added more confusion. A strange figure walking stiffly, entering a shop but buying nothing, then repeatedly failing to enter a PIN at the ATM, their hands trembling, constantly adjusting the scarf as if unsure how much of their face to hide. Locals watched with growing unease. Nobody moved like that. Theories emerged. The killer was likely a seasonal migrant worker, someone passing through the town's fruit and vegetable fields, someone who paid in cash and lived in temporary housing, someone invisible in all the wrong ways. Police printed posters in Polish, Lithuanian, Russian, Portuguese, and shared translated Crime Watch episodes, but nothing surfaced. Then came Detective Alan Reeves, a quiet man who carried obsessions like other people carried wallets, who kept replaying the ATM footage, noticing the figure wasn't frustrated while entering the PIN. They were confused, like someone unfamiliar with how local machines worked or someone who had been given a card with a number they didn't know. Reeves wondered if the card had been borrowed, stolen, or taken without consent. 3 months later, a produce warehouse reported a young man missing, leaving behind a duffel bag and a torn wage envelope. Inside was a scarf identical to the one seen in the CCTV. The young man, known only as Mateo, was said to be from Portugal or Brazil. No one was sure. DNA from the scarf matched the CCTV figure, but co-workers insisted Mateo was gentle, frightened, timid, nothing like the person in the footage. His translator and closest friend, a quiet woman named Alda, described him as kind, but always scared, though she didn't know why. Then, the police found Marianne's debit card under Mateo's mattress. It looked like a clear link, yet something didn't add up. The violence was too emotional, too chaotic, and the figure in the CCTV didn't move like Mateo. Reeves suspected that someone else had used his clothes, his belongings, and possibly even his identity. The footprint from the orchard was reanalyzed and showed an inward-leaning arch, a condition caused by long hours standing in cheap boots, common among field workers. But Mateo didn't have that condition. Alda did. She had foot pain complaints, worn-out boots, inconsistently recorded last names, no fixed address, and she had vanished the same night Mateo did. A search of a derelict caravan used by workers revealed a matching bus ticket, muddy boots, another scarf, dried blood, and a notebook page with a crudely drawn female figure and the repeated phrase, "She saw me," the handwriting frantic and uneven. Reeves realized something chilling. Alda hadn't been seen by Marianne. She believed Marianne had recognized her, judged her, maybe confronted her. Fear had been Alda's entire vocabulary, written into the scars on her arms and the tremor in her voice, and on that night, fear had transformed her. When police finally found her in an abandoned cottage outside town, she didn't run. She came out slowly, hands shaking, whispering something in a language no one understood. During questioning in broken English, she said only, "She knew my face." And about the stolen card, "Matteo, he tried to help me. I take cards. He doesn't know. I'm sorry." The murder wasn't planned, just a terrified woman reacting after a lifetime of being hunted by things she never explained. The strangest twist came when Matteo was found alive in another city, unharmed, confused, and scared for Alda. The town finally exhaled. Families reopened windows. Workers walked home without looking back. Reeves filed the case with a soft, tired smile, a rare feeling of closure washing through the department. Alda was placed in psychiatric care, Matteo received protection, and Marianne's family got something most families in such cases never receive: the truth. Not a triumphant ending, not a glorious one, but a complete one. And in cases like this, that was enough. As Reeves said during the final briefing, the words that echoed through the station with quiet, exhausted relief: "We got it. For once, we actually got it." And for the first time in months, the town felt the shadows lift. Not gone, but known, named, and no longer chasing anyone. The house had settled into a kind of hush that felt almost physical, the kind of soft, heavy quiet that drifts into rooms in late winter evenings, curling around furniture, filling the air with something that wasn't sadness exactly, but something shaped like it. Little Mason moved through that quiet like a child drifting through warm water, slow and thoughtful. Every small footstep gentle on the floor, as though he already understood more than grown-ups thought a 4-year-old could. After Aaron's death, the world inside their home seemed to dim in a subtle, breath-like way. Lights felt warmer, shadows felt softer, and even the sound of clocks seemed to tick slower, stretching time out into something long and low and muted. Claire would watch her son sometimes, the way he looked at corners of the room he no longer spoke to, the way he held his stuffed animals a little tighter at night, and she felt the ache of loss settle into her chest like a warm stone, quiet and heavy and impossible to ignore. She kept reminding him gently that his cousin was gone, that he wouldn't be at his aunt's house anymore, that he had been sick with a sadness his young heart couldn't carry, and Mason would listen with wide eyes and a slight, polite nod, until the night he didn't. The room was warm, lit only by the soft amber glow of his nightlight, shadows swaying lightly like curtains underwater. When he looked up at her with that strange, steady calm children sometimes have when they say things too big for their age, he whispered, almost like someone repeating a secret meant only for him, "Mom, you keep saying he's not here anymore, but he is. He sits on my bed and talks to me." His voice held no fear, no imagination, just a simple, quiet certainty that wrapped itself around the air like a slow, cool breeze. Claire felt something inside her pause. Not panic, not disbelief, just a stillness, the kind that finds you when you hear a sound you didn't expect in an empty house. She tried gently to correct him, smoothing his hair as her voice softened and became more careful. Still, Mason only shook his head with that same quiet conviction, repeating it the next morning, and the next, describing moments he shouldn't have known, details they never discussed near him, things about the day Aaron died that were kept behind closed doors and lowered voices. Weeks drifted by like slow-moving clouds, soft and heavy, and the house seemed to listen. Then another loss came, Aaron's grandfather passing away, and the night Claire told Mason, his expression shifted in that small, almost imperceptible way children have when something inside them settles into understanding. He didn't cry, he didn't question, he only blinked, then whispered in a voice that sounded almost rehearsed, as if someone had said the words to him over and over until they fit in his mouth just right. "He told me, he said he can't come anymore. He's going on a train with Grandpa. They won't come back." And before Claire could speak, he added softly, almost kindly, "He said guns are not safe. He said that's how he died." For a moment, everything in the room went still. The air, her heartbeat, the warm light, even the soft hum of the heater. She had never told him that. No one had. It was the kind of detail families lock away, the type that lives behind silence, behind grief, behind the closed door of a teenager's room that no one has had the strength to clean out yet. And yet Mason said it with the ease of someone passing along a message entrusted to him. After that night, the quiet in the house changed again, but this time it was gentler, lighter, like the kind of quiet that follows the end of a long, aching cry. Mason slept peacefully. He no longer reached toward the space at the foot of his bed. He no longer tilted his head like he was listening to a voice only he could hear. He stopped waking up at odd hours. He stopped asking questions that were too old for his age. He simply breathed deeply and evenly, like someone who had finally been told something he needed to hear. And Claire noticed something else too. The house no longer felt eerie. The shadows didn't feel watchful. The air didn't feel heavy. Everything felt released, as if a tension she hadn't even realized she was carrying had quietly loosened its grip. Sometimes, long after Mason had fallen asleep, Claire would stand in the doorway, watching the slow rise and fall of his small chest, the faint glow of the nightlight painting gentle shapes on the walls, and she would feel an ache in her throat. Not fear, not dread, but something softer, something almost tender. Because deep inside, without fully understanding why, she felt that goodbyes don't always belong to the living, and that sometimes love lingers just long enough to make sure the ones left behind are safe, even if the world can't explain how. And in that warm, still air, she found peace in the most straightforward, quietest truth. Whatever Mason had seen, whatever he had heard, whatever message had been passed through the thin wall between memory and imagination, it had ended with protection, not horror, with a warning, not harm, with love, not fear. A goodbye, a final one, soft as a sigh, brief as a passing train in the dark, and just long enough to let a small child sleep without shadows again. The house felt like it was breathing that evening, with warm yellow lights glowing against the soft rustle of distant conversations, the scent of old wood and simmering food settling gently into every corner. And somewhere within that familiar noise, a small, quiet room held itself apart, as if wrapped in its own stillness. 6-year-old Sarah sat on the carpet, her tiny fingers moving wooden blocks with slow, thoughtful taps that sounded almost like a heartbeat beneath the floor. When Uncle Steve passed by the doorway, he paused without knowing why, drawn by a kind of peaceful gravity that children sometimes create without meaning to. He stepped inside with a soft smile and asked her what she was playing. Without looking up, without breaking the calm rhythm of her hands, she said she was playing with a friend. Steve chuckled under his breath, assuming it was another imaginary companion, and gently asked what her friend's name was, but the answer drifted out of her like a whisper carried by someone else's breath. Jack. The name slipped into the air like a cold fingertip sliding down Steve's spine, and for a moment, the warmth of the house seemed to hush, just slightly, as if leaning closer. He hadn't heard that name in decades. Not since he was 7. Not since the day his childhood friend Jack had died in a car crash, still wearing Steve's borrowed shoes. No one in this house knew that story. No one had said that name aloud in years. Aunt Sarah, still quietly tapping her blocks, pointed to a small space beside her and said he was sitting right there, saying he was sorry he forgot to give the shoes back. The air in the room shifted, not violently, not dramatically, but gently, like the faintest draft passing through a closed window. And Steve stood very still, the soft hum of the house fading into something deeper, something quieter. Sarah tilted her head as if listening to someone invisible leaning close to her ear, and in that delicate, dreamlike voice children have when they don't realize they're saying something impossible, she murmured that Jack couldn't stay long because his dad was waiting for him outside. The same father who had died with him. The quiet around them thickened, the room cooling just enough for goosebumps to rise on Steve's arms, and for a single heartbeat, he caught the faint scent of wet earth, old leather, and summer rain, the exact smell of the day his friend died. Then Sarah blinked softly and said, "He's gone," and the weight in the air lifted, the warmth returned, and the distant chatter drifted back into place as if nothing had happened at all. Hours later, long after the family had left and the house had sunk into gentle nighttime silence, Steve walked to his childhood bedroom and opened the closet, where time felt trapped in dust. At the very back sat the old pair of shoes, one slightly cleaner than the other, as if someone small had touched it recently, someone careful, someone who remembered. And in the soft hush of that quiet room, Steve whispered into the stillness, "It's okay, Jack, you're forgiven." Though the house remained calm and unmoving, a single floorboard released the faintest creak, not frightening, not supernatural, just the tender exhale of a friendship finally allowed to rest. And with that, the night settled gently around him like a memory putting itself to sleep.